Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. I hope you're doing well, and today I'm setting up my bullet journal for the month of May. I wanted to show you a little flip through of my April pages because I think they turn out really cute, especially the weekly spreads. I really enjoyed using them, and as always I was filming in the second to last week of April, so I still have one more week to go, and then I'm starting May on the next two pages. Before we actually get into the setup though, I wanted to talk about a product that was very kindly sent to me by the people at Intelligent Change. So they reached out and asked if I would be interested in trying one of their products, and I decided to try out the 5-minute journal. This video is not sponsored, but I did get the product for free, and I thought I would just show you a little unboxing. So it comes with this lovely motivational card, and then this is the journal itself. It has this very rustic, sort of handmade looking linen cover, and it's very minimalistic overall, which I really appreciate. And yeah, I'm just gonna flip through some of the pages and explain what it's all about, so if you're not interested, please do feel free to skip this section. I'll put some timestamps on the screen as well as in the comments. So the first pages of the journal are kind of an explanation as to how to use the journal and the science behind the methods created for the journal. So I personally really enjoyed reading about that because I always love when things are actually based on scientific studies, and it also prepared me for actually using the journal. Basically, the 5-minute journal is split into a morning and a night routine, and you have several small sections to fill out each day. In the morning, you set the tone for the day by writing down a small gratitude list, some affirmations on how you see yourself or how you would want to see yourself, and then lastly, what would make that day a great one. At night, you get the chance to reflect on your day by writing down 3 amazing things that happened that day, and also what you could have done to make it even better. So as you can probably tell, it's basically a journal designed to give you a more positive mindset and to help you grow as a person on a daily basis. I've never used a journal like this, and I usually have a lot of trouble sticking with new habits, but what I thought was really nice is that you actually make a kind of contract with yourself at the beginning to use the journal for 5 consecutive days, and you write down what you have to do if you don't do it, and what you will reward yourself with if you do. And I think this is just a great strategy for any sort of habit. And I found it to be very effective because at this point I'm actually almost done with my first 5 days, and I've been really enjoying it so far. So if you are interested in this journal or other products from Intelligent Change, you can use the discount code ICHANGE for 10% off of your first order. So yeah, thank you again to Intelligent Change for letting me try out this journal, and let's go ahead and get into the setup for May. For this month, I am using one of my Ohuhu markers in this very light peachy shade, and then I'm also using the Arch and Olive Acrylographs in the colors Mustard, Dusty Rose, and Indigo from the Jewel collection. For May, I wanted to make a sort of picnic-themed setup, which I've been wanting to do for quite a while, but I just couldn't figure out how I wanted to do it at first. But this time I came up with something that I really loved. So for the cover page, I'm first using the peachy marker to create this gingham pattern. So first I'm using the brush tip to make the base pattern, and then I also use the fine liner tip to make more lines in between the thicker stripes. With the indigo shade of the acrylographs, I'm writing the title on the top, and this month I went for this really simple and kind of playful font with lowercase letters, and I spaced them out quite a lot, and I basically kept the style of header all throughout the setup. I wanted to make it look like a cute picnic blanket of some sort, so I added these little floral doodles in the mustard shade, and I actually got inspired by a TikTok I saw by Happy Ever Crafter, and she showed these super simple floral doodles, and I just absolutely love them, so definitely check her out. I will leave her ad in the description. In between the doodles, I also added small flowers in the Dusty Rose shade, and I thought all the colors worked together so well, and I actually experimented a lot beforehand with how I wanted to use the colors, and I think it just turned out super cute. I also added a few dots here and there in the indigo shade, and then I also made a border in the rose shade around the gingham pattern. On the right page, I'm making my monthly sections, so there's nothing new here. I'm just sticking with what works for me until I find something that works even better. So this month I did 6 sections, and I used the peachy shade as a background for the titles, and then the dusty rose shade for the borders, just to keep things consistent. I also didn't use a ruler this time, which I had been doing for the last couple of setups, but I thought it would fit the theme a little bit better if the lines aren't too perfect. and it also takes a little bit less effort, so that's always a plus. I'm using the Indigo shade again to write the titles, and I made sections for my events, freelance work, my YouTube and Instagram trackers, as well as my Etsy shop and my priorities. And I forgot to write the title for the last section first, but I'll get to it in a bit. And again, I went for the same style of lettering because I just thought it fit the theme really well. By the way, I always use the grid spaces as a guide for my letters, which makes it really easy to space them out evenly. I also drew a little flower in each of the sections on the bottom right to decorate them a bit and to also incorporate the mustard shade. Here I remembered to write the last title, and as you can see I left some empty space above it because I wanted to include another gingham pattern to match it to the cover page. So I did the same pattern with the marker first and then drew some more little floral doodles in the mustard shade. I think I chose 5 different floral doodles in total, and then I just repeated them all throughout the setup so that there's some variety but also some consistency. Here I just added the small flowers and dots again to tie it in with the cover page. And that's it for the cover page and my monthly planning sections. I was super happy with how all the pages came out this month. It was just a really enjoyable process overall, and I just took my time with it. So yeah, let's go ahead and move on to the next pages. If you've seen my other videos before, you know the drill by now, because I always make my habit trackers on this page. So for the title, I thought I would incorporate the gingham pattern again as a background, so that's exactly what I did. It kind of functions like a washi tape, which I thought was so fun, so if you do have a washi tape with a gingham pattern, that would totally work as well. I filled the empty space next to the title with some more flowers in the Dusty Rose shade, as well as the little dots in the Indigo shade, and I also used it again to write the title. I also just wanted to mention that I did sketch out everything before filming, so I'm not just making things up as I go, but I make sure that my titles will be centered and everything before I actually write them. For the habits, I'm first using the peachy shade as a background for the titles, and I did 6 daily habits this time, and as you can see I kind of spaced out the upper 3 because I wanted to include more gingham pattern wherever possible. Next I'm writing the weekdays in the mustard shade, and I made a little mistake, but it's really easy to cover up with the acrylographs. I actually decided to use the Indigo shade for the borders of the habits, but in retrospect I guess I could have used the rose shade as well, but I don't know, I like how it came out, so maybe that was the right choice. I included the last few days of April and the first day of June and just crossed them out because I like it better when the shape of the calendar is a simple rectangle, if that makes sense. So yeah, here I'm crossing them out and I just used the rose shade. I always like to include all the colors I choose for a setup because I think it makes it look more interesting while also keeping things very cohesive. I decided to write the actual habits with my black Muji gel pen because the tip of the acrylographs is a little bit too thick for small writing. But yeah, I'm currently tracking, doing my skincare, using the 5-minute journal, flossing my teeth, learning Korean, cleaning my room, and practicing gestures. So basically practicing like poses for character design. And then, like I mentioned, I wanted to include more gingham pattern in the empty spaces, so that's exactly what I did. And I also drew some more floral doodles on each little section. I think this color scheme would actually work super well for the fall months as well, so maybe I'll revisit it later in the year. I wanted to have some kind of visual separation between my daily and weekly habits, so I made this strip of gingham pattern, which again kind of looks like a washi tape, and I think it just works really well as a border. This time I only used the rose and the mustard shade to draw on little flowers because the space wasn't really tall enough for the floral doodles, and it was also just a bit quicker to do. And here I'm using the peachy shade again as a background for my weekly habits. I included 4 different ones: doing my weekly spreads, watering my plants, posting on Instagram, and vacuuming my room. And then on the right I made 5 little circles for each week so that I can fill them out once I complete a weekly habit. Now, I always like to include different sections on this right page, so this time I first drew a mini calendar because I just always like to have an overview of the dates for each spread. So I wrote the weekdays with the mustard shade, and then I used the gingham pattern as a background, which I thought was so cute, and then I filled in some of the empty space next to it with more little flowers before actually writing the dates, so that the marker was completely dry, because sometimes the pen can bleed out a little bit if you write on wet marker. Next to it, I created a large section which will be dedicated to my to-dos for my master's study program, because I'm going to be applying for it between the beginning of May to the middle of June, and there will be just a bunch of things to do, so I wanted to have a section for it. And I also made a smaller section underneath the mini calendar for my next Plan With Me video, where I wanted to write down like theme ideas and stuff like that. Underneath those 2 sections, I decided to make another gingham separator, and again I made it the exact same way as on the left page, and I thought this made the whole spread look super cute in the end. This month I wanted to make a list where I can write down 1 Korean word per day that I learned, because I wanted to become more consistent with my studies again and not give up on it, so I thought this would be a nice challenge to look back on at the end of the month. I used the peachy shade to color in every second row for 16 spaces total, so that I could write the title in the first row, and then I have 31 rows left for each day of the month. Here I'm also writing the date with the mustard shade on the left side, and I also added a border in the rose shade, as well as some little flowers in between the 2 sections. And that's this spread finished. I think it turned out so cute and I can't wait to get to use it. So yeah, let's go ahead and move on to my weekly spread, which might be one of my favorite ones I have done so far. First, I'm making another mini calendar on the top left side of the page in the same style as on the last one, so with the gingham pattern in the background and everything. For this weekly spread, I wanted to have a section with the gingham pattern in the middle of the spread, which I thought would look so cute, and then I spaced out my days so that there are 4 on the left page and 3 on the right, and I also have some extra space for smaller sections. So I have 1 on the top of the left page and then 2 on the bottom right. The first section is for my goals, and I'm writing the title with the indigo shade again in the same style of lettering, and I did the same thing for all of the weekdays. The other 2 sections are for my to-dos and for the next week. Then I'm using the Dusty Rose shade for all of the borders, and again I'm not using a ruler, but I'm utilizing the dots as a guide. And a quick tip for straight lines is to drag the pen towards you, so try to position your journal so that it's at the easiest angle for you to draw the lines. I think this is probably different for everyone, but you can definitely practice on a sheet of paper, and Amanda Rachley actually has a great video on it as well. And now here comes my favorite part of the spread. So I made a gingham pattern covering this whole middle section, and the good thing is that your lines don't even have to be that straight, because I personally think it makes the pattern look really charming if it's a little bit irregular anyway, so you really don't have to worry about it. After that, I covered the whole section in floral doodles, and I alternated between the different types I picked out so that they became a pattern themselves. And I spaced them out evenly so that it wouldn't look too chaotic. And I think it's easier to just watch what I'm doing instead of trying to explain it. But I'm placing them kind of on a diagonal axis, if that makes sense. And I also made them face in different directions. Then I went in with the Dusty Rose shade and added small flowers again in between the doodles, and lastly I also added the small dots in the Indigo shade to finish up the pattern. I did also add the small flowers to the lower right corner of each section again, just like I did for my monthly sections, and then I also used the same shade to write the dates right underneath the weekdays. Lastly, I added another small gingham section because I honestly didn't really know what else to put there, and I just drew these small flowers instead of the doodles so that it wouldn't distract from the bigger section. And that's it for my weekly spread and also for this whole setup. I absolutely love the process of creating this one. I think I had a lot more fun with it because I don't usually give myself as much time. So yeah, I really hope you enjoyed it as well, and here's a little flip through as always. I think this color palette and also just a type of theme is really up my alley for some reason, so this is definitely one of my all-time favorite themes. If you do have any more ideas for themes you would like to see me do, please leave them in the comments. I always love reading them and interacting with you guys, and definitely also consider joining our little community if you haven't already. We'd love to have you. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching as always, and I hope I'll see you again next time. Bye!